Heading out the door, Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra 2021. Oh yeah, smart guy? What's this one called? Samsung Galaxy A30 2019. Wrong! It's a Huawei P Smart Plus from 2018. I was wrong? No, it's impossible! I made all the proper calculations. The dual camera, the separated flash, the fingerprint scanner, even the holotype back glass. My deduction was perfect. What? The color. What's going on here? You mean it's not a trick of the light, but a gradient design? Such an obvious tell. And I missed it? No, that's impossible. This can't be. I'll be ruined. My reputation as a gimmick blog. No. Lord, the peasants are so loud today. Pheasants, the birds. Classicist typo. Don't you mean classist typo, as in discriminating against poor people, and not classicist, the type of academic who studies antiquity in Southern Europe? Academia typo. Frigging nerds. You're doing what to the nerds? Coitus misinterpretation. I believe the post is on fire. Don't worry, guys. I got the fire extinguisher. Achievement unlocked. Fire post. What do you mean the post is on fire? Achievement unlocked. Arson. I have set this post back on fire. You butthead, we just extinguished that. This is fine. Are the pheasants cooked by now? Great post, everyone. Hit the showers. Imagine getting a cat from an animal shelter and deciding to pick the very sweet and gentle one who hasn't made a single sound the whole time you're there, and being told, yeah, she doesn't meow like other cats do. And then, when you say, oh, it's okay, I don't mind a cat who isn't very vocal, the shelter's people look at you like they're about to say something, but decide against it. And then you bring your kitty home, and the first time she wants your attention, she opens her mouth, and the sound that comes out is a low, soothing, but abnormally long, continuous tune that you can only describe as something between Mongolian throat singing and a didgeridoo. Now that Jimmy Carter is dead, can I just say what an absolute power move it was for him to run for governor of Georgia with segregation as his platform, only to do a complete 180 once in office. Insane. Carter was sworn in as the 76th governor of Georgia on January 12, 1971. In his inaugural speech, he declared that the time for racial discrimination is over, shocking the crowd and causing many of the segregationists who had supported him during the race to feel betrayed. Politicians just don't do it like this anymore. I know Raid Shadow Legends is bad because I've never seen fan art of any of the characters. Yeah. Holy crap, knew it was bad, but this is dire. There's more content on AO3 for my old Latin textbook curriculum than there is for Raid Shadow Legends, and I think that says a lot. Wait, hold on, let's set right to the side. Why is your Latin curriculum on AO3? It's a series of a couple books that follow the story of a Roman family, and you have to learn grammar and translate each chapter. I read through the results, and apparently a lot of people shipped Cornelia, daughter/main girl, and Flavia, her friend who was there for like 4 chapters and never again. So my Latin textbook's fandom's most popular ship is gay, basically. All Latin textbooks have fandoms. Character misses their shot, and the villain goes, ha, you missed! And the main character goes, did I? And then shoots the villain again while they're frantically looking around the room for what the hero could have possibly been aiming for instead. I hate the notes on this so much. So many people are saying crap like, and then the hero shoots the villain while they're looking around, XD. That's what the post already said. That's the entire joke. There's a Pokecho post like this. I need to find it. Edit. Found it. My new song, Toss Me Into the Sun, will be the antithesis to Fly Me to the Moon. Then call it Toss Me Into the Sun. What part of this post did you manage to miss? Maybe they didn't miss part of the post. Starts frantically looking around. I shoot you while you're looking around. And then while I'm frantically looking around, you shoot me for real this time, XD. Oh my god, you missed part of the post. Did I? Frantically looks around. I raise my gun to shoot you while you're distracted, but the bullets I already fired ricochets all around the room and hits me in the back of the head, killing me instantly. Why do I feel like I just watched a cartoon from the 1950s? So my dad is a college professor, and he just got alerted recently that in an effort to go paperless, the faculty is having their printers taken away. My dad decided to take this opportunity and create a meme, so he goes proudly up to me and tells me, I created a meme! And lo and behold, me running away from my building with my office printer and paper after CSU decides to go paperless. My dad's first meme. He was so proud of it, and he emailed it individually to other faculty, and nobody gave him any acknowledgement. He came into my room all sad. Please share to give my father the meme support he deserves. Hey man, let's watch Nosferatu together. Can you hold my hand if I get scared? God, just remembered when I worked at a movie theater, someone did this. They came in late movie on a weeknight. One ticket had been purchased ahead of time. This dude comes into the register, orders ticket, gets to see seat map, chuckles for a sec, says they want the one right next to the other guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I sell him the seat. He goes and sees the movie. Don't think anything else happened. But I remember being there like, there's nothing wrong with this, but I feel like it shouldn't be allowed. Like, I can't tell you no, but what the frig is wrong with you? My first Wonder Trade in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I got a Machamp. Incredible. All it knows is dig. Level 31, and it just knows dig. What am I supposed to do with this? Is this Machamp's name Homo Matsuri? As in Homo Festival? Yeah, this is good. Some more interesting information. Dig in Japanese was originally ana wa horu, which translates to dig a hole, with the direct object being ana, a hole, and the verbs being horu, dig. The common writing of ana is the same as a colloquial term for the buttocks, ketsu. Horu, in addition to its more standard definition, is also a slang verb meaning to have butt coitus between two men. Your new Machamp is named Homo Festival, and its only move is to frig a man in the butt. Basically, you got a butt destroyer in Wonder Trade. You've heard of quiet quitting. Now I'd like to introduce you to the next level, the French, work ethic. Do exactly what you're paid for and nothing more. Absolutely refuse to be available to contact when you're off the clock. Never prioritize work over your own health, well-being, or family, because that would be insane. It's just a job. Have a little glass of wine. Take as long as you feel like for lunch. Deeply understand that work doesn't matter. Make sure your boss knows they're always your second priority. Heart. Be unreachable the entire month of August. How did you give yourself an ear infection eating hoo-ha? I'm just gonna screenshot from a text I sent my friends after the doctor's visit. When did the pain first start? Around Friday morning. Did you go swing on Thursday maybe? Not swimming, no. Any other strenuous physical activity? It can also be caused by sweat entering the ear canal. And it can be exacerbated by strain to the jaw. A lot of talking or chewing, anything that involves the mouth being wider open than usual. Right, gotcha. Cool. I'm sorry to inform you that this is getting an 85K. Investing at 382. You can't friggin' do this to me. Achievement unlocked. A noble sacrifice. Never has there been a more righteous and honorable way to get an ear infection. It would suck being a new immortal. Like it'd be 2109 and people would go, what was it like seeing ancient civilizations rise and fall like that? Seeing the pyramids being built, watching the expansion and growth of the new world. And I'd just be like, no, I was born in 1991. So like, wow, I'm gonna see some cool stuff, but I mean, I'm not that much older than just a really old person, you know? Phones were big back then, so big, but only for like 10 years. Then they got like as good as they are now. Rhinos existed. Don't think I ever saw one in person. Cool, good talk. Even worse, imagine being an immortal who keeps missing stuff. What was it like seeing the pyramids being built? Frig if I know, I was in Madagascar. Oh, okay, well, how was the Renaissance? I fell down a hole in Scotland, and people thought I was an enchanted well for 400 years. It was over by the time I convinced someone to get me out. Method actor this, method actor that. Toshiro Mifune played a guy getting shot at by arrows by getting shot at by arrows. And yeah, I believe it. This is the face of a guy getting shot at by arrows. The shocking thing about that scene was, they didn't have insurance. And what's more, they used real arrows. And the archers were college students. The arrows were going everywhere. The archers weren't good shots. Ah! A mom just came in so excited to find a map store because her son would love it. She tries to be coy. My son is really into maps. Real special kid. I'm like, ma'am, this is a map store. Half my customers are on the spectrum. I have a trains in transit section. You're among friends. Sir, this is a Wendy's. I have no idea why you're here for that, but this is possibly the least relevant place for you to be right now. Ma'am, this is a map store. This is an even more relevant place for you to be than you know yet. This little guy was crazy for Christmas. We used to wrap his presents in lead foil so he couldn't peek. You mean Santa wrapped them. Of course, dear. Lead. December 4th, remember that time we learned Clark Kent totally peeked at all his Christmas presents with his X-ray vision? Justice League, comfort and joy. Because Clark is awesome and loves Christmas. Remember that time we learned Clark Kent is a grown man who still believes Santa exists? He's an alien and a superhero who knows other superheroes in a world with a talking telepathic gorilla. Of course he believes. Anything is game. That's because Father Christmas / Santa Claus totally does exist in the DC universe. And every year, without fail, Santa fights through Apocalypse's defenses just to give a lump of coal to Darkseid. It's a lump of coal for you again. Do not let him leave here alive. Oops, gotta go. See you next year. He what? Morning shift. Customer is angry that we disabled his card. Calm him down because it is a security measure. We had to block his card because he spent $5,000 on Genshin Impact at 4 a.m. and almost drained his entire bank account. The instant we unblock his card, he spends $200 more on Genshin Impact. Like, bruh, this guy's jacked up, for reals. Every 200 notes I wake up to, I see some familiar faces and learn that some of you just have this post on standby to remind yourselves not to wail for the new bland boy toy. Proud of you guys. Sun mistake. In teaching my cat Sun Boy, the command out intended to mean emerge from the enclosed space, I have unwittingly trained him to understand that if I open a box, cupboard, cabinet, or fridge in his presence, he need only rush inside and stay there, firmly planted with his wide, wet baby eyes, and he will surely be granted the opportunity to earn a delightful little treat. Pros. My darling son will emerge from the microwave as soon as I ask. Cons. My son will be in the microwave until I ask. In my DARE program, they would let us submit anonymous questions, and every week, a cop would read out, "Would SpongeBob smoke Zaza?" He totally would, by the way, and get mad. I usually would never reblog a post and add commentary not in the tags, but I feel like I have to share that in my middle school DARE program, they also did this, and I wanted to know why police officers like donuts. But in my child mind, I assumed that there were tons of people submitting questions, so at lunch, a couple of my friends and I all wrote, "Why do police officers like donuts?" over and over again, and I probably submitted close to like 20 over the course of the week. When the cop came back, he was like, "We got some interesting questions this week. Like, why do police officers like donuts? Why do police officers like donuts? Why do police officers like donuts? And why do police officers like donuts?" And so on. There's a TikTok trend called Hear Me Out Cakes, where you print out pictures of characters and actors that you basically have to justify wanting to frig, before taping it on a toothpick and putting it on a cake. Most of the men who do this challenge will pick the fish from Shark Tales, Nala from Lion King. This was the one he actually had to fight for his life over. Shigo, an actor slightly older than 30. There was one guy who had Korra as his Hear Me Out. Meanwhile, the girls are frigging xenomorphs, mathematical equations, the concept of Vine, bananas in pajamas, and the peanut M&M. One girl sprayed another girl with a water bottle because she put Bowser on the cake and he was too basic. If the trend has taught me anything, it's that girls will frig literally anything as long as it has a charming personality and a sardonic smile. If you can't convince a girl to frig you when she's got a centaur from Fallout on her smash cake, it has nothing to do with not having a jawline or a six-pack. It's because you're an insufferable human being. Thinking again about how the names Arctic and Antarctica just means bears and no bears, what can be more human than coming to a place you've never been and saying bears are here, then visiting a similar place and going, but no bears here. And hilariously, that is not why it is called that. It is the circle of bears because of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, and the circle without bears because, you know, opposite part of the sky. We lucked right into that one. So what you're saying is the stars dictate whether bears do or do not exist in places. Astrology is real, but only for predicting where bears will be. Bears do not travel to places they cannot see their gods. I've seen this post before, but it only just occurred to me that there might be some sort of underlying reason that places where bears are and places where people name stars after bears overlap. Reblogging for that last comment. We peaked with this one. Should have shut down the internet after this. To be totally fair to Willy Wonka, at least a couple of those candy factory casualties involved kids deliberately circumventing reasonable safeguards, sometimes aided and abetted by the parents who were supposed to be supervising them. What happened is at most 60% his fault. Oompa loompa doopity da, the court finds you breached your duty of care. Oompa loompa doopity disc, that's what the courts call assumption of risk. Oompa loompa doopity doo, only a partial judgment for you. Oompa loompa doopity doubt, the rest of the class action lawsuit is hereby Thrown a tea out the forbidden pool. Every so often, a note will blow through my notifications telling me,
Actually, the water is only radioactive at the bottom, so it's perfectly safe to swim here.
yeah, hag, swim in the reactor pool, see if I friggin' care. So, as far as swimming safety goes, the bottom line is that you'd probably be okay, as long as you didn't dive to the bottom or pick up anything strange. But, just to be sure, I got in touch with a friend of mine who works at a research reactor, and asked him what he thought would happen to you if you tried to swim in their radiation containment pool. In our reactor? He thought about it for a moment. You'd die pretty quickly, before reaching the water, from gunshot wounds. In Turkish, the bird we call a turkey is called hindi, from India. In India, it's called Peru. In Arabic, the bird is called Greek chicken. In Greek, it's called French chicken. And in French, it's called Indian chicken. The bird is indigenous to none of these places. I love that everyone looked at the turkey and asked themselves, who is responsible for this thing? And then everyone pointed at everyone else. We're doing postmodernism in sociology, and the teacher was talking about language games, language that is so specialized that unless you're part of a specific group, it's totally incomprehensible. And as an example, he gave us this monstrosity. Chat, is this loss? And what's even worse, I friggin' understood it! I had to explain this to my friggin' sociology class! This is why we should never have let the millennials become teachers. Willem Dafoe says it was very special working alongside 2,000 trained rats in Nosferatu. They were excellent co-stars. My only anxiety was, I love animals. I was worried about stepping on them, the actor told Yahoo Entertainment. Marry 2,000 trained rats, everybody. Nosferatu's live rat usage clarified by director, and it's way more than the original number. There's 5,000 real rats, so basically, if there's rats in the foreground, they're real, and then they thin out and become CG rats in the background. And they were well trained. I didn't know that rats are incontinent, so the smell is insane. Yummers. FYI, marry 5,000 incontinent rats, everyone. If you know someone from New York City and they're feeling down, ask them to explain to you exactly what a bodega is. They love telling people about bodegas. Now, what they're going to describe to you is a regular corner store, but act like it's just as magical as they think it is. I'm thrilled. My tweet continues to upset New Yorkers even after my Twitter ban. Marvel rivals Spider-Man, saying that after the match, they should all get a sandwich, specifically from a bodega. Why are streaming services these days all named crap like Fubi and Hihu and Lala? Disney's Hulu Plus live TV business to combine with Fubo, clearing way for Venu Sports. Like, what do these words mean? Poob has it for you, Poob has it for you, Poob has it for you. What the frig is happening? Have you seen the new show? It's on Tubu. It's literally on Hebe. It's on Pootie with ads. It's literally on Dippy. You can probably find it on Weeno. Dude, it's on Gumpy. It's a Phoebo original. It's on Poob. You can watch it on Poob. You can go to Poob and watch it. Log on to Poob right now. Go to Poob. Dive into Poob. You can Poob it. It's on Poob. Poob has it for you. Poob has it for you. It was removed from Tubu. Hebe sold the IP. Pootie won't play it in your region. It's not on Dippy. You can't find it on Weeno. Gumpy lost the rights to Phoebo. Poob was removed from the App Store. The FBI have issued a warning to Poob. 3 Poob executives were arrested today. Poob has it for you. The fact that pro-monarchy arguments have degenerated over the past few centuries from the king rules by divine right and is accountable to nobody but God to
The royals generate a lot of income from tourism.
will never stop being extremely funny to me. The monarchs? Bad. But the castles? Oh, the castles are positively lush with rats. Delete this account immediately. Where does the New York Times even find these people? In Grand Central Terminal, Leon Chang, 26, of Brooklyn, said he had not heard of congestion pricing and asked what it was. When explained it was a toll for cars entering Manhattan, he then asked, "What do you mean? What is a car?" Walking outside, we showed him a vehicle parked on the street. He gently touched the hood of the car. "You wish to forbid these majestic beasts from entering the city?" he said in a wistful tone. "It is a folly of man, the desire to tame the world around us." If anyone ever has the misfortune of pulling me off the street for an interview, this is exactly the kind of interaction they've earned. Hey, that person you just reblogged from used to be in our Discord server, but we had to kick them out because they admitted to watching Tomb and Jury. That show features violence and as such, glorifies it. When we confronted them, all they said was, "What the frig? It's a show about a cat and a mouse." If you don't believe me, there's a whole call-out post that features their name, age, and street address, so you can go to their house and check. Anyways, you should unfollow them before people start thinking you like problematic media too, / just trying to help. Remember how friggin' god-awful the Divergent series was? Her edgy love interest was like, "My name is Four, because I'm only afraid of four things." In Divergent, Four's fears include claustrophobia, fear of being trapped in a confined space, heights, fear of being high up, guns, fear of being shot, being beaten by his father, fear of being physically abused by his father, Marcus, killing innocent people, fear of killing someone who is innocent. These are his fears, by the way. Wait, that's 5. This dude can't friggin' count. My nephew, who is like 11 or 12, is playing 5D chess with multiverse time travel, which is exactly what it says on the tin, and I have never been more terrified of the youth of today. Here's a sample picture from the Steam page. What the hell is this? I'm a physics undergrad, and this game will be my PhD dissertation. Whoever made this is a psychopath. I can see why this game has the psychological horror tag. Couldn't sleep for weeks. Perfect for chess novices, because even if you play against an expert, they're just as confused as you are. A terrible tool for teaching someone how to play chess. What? How to utilize the third dimension, and why it's kind of stupid. Can a game go on forever? What non-Euclidean Lovecraftian deep spawn came up with? How is the present decided? Quantum states? I think one of the funniest things about kids is how they'll be very observant and lack context for anything. Like, imagine someone having to explain to their small kids that some other adult in the grocery store was acting absolutely horrid because some grown-ups aren't real adults. They're just kids in adult bodies trying to pretend to be grown-ups, and some of them are bad at it. Real grown-ups don't throw tantrums in grocery stores. And 3 weeks later, one of the kids sees a trainee at the daycare frig up something that the other daycare workers have no problem doing, and observes, "You're just a kid trying to pretend to be an adult, aren't you?" And this whole hog young adult will have to process that they were just read for friggin' filth by somebody who was born in 2021. Forget resting hag face. I have resting competent face. People see me and think, "Ah yes, she can point me to the nearest train station." Fellow grocery shoppers ask if I know what kind of butter they should buy. If a strange man speaks to me on the street, it is literally always an inquiry and never a catcall. Once someone randomly asked me what an equinox was, and after I told her, she nodded and said, "You seemed like you know." Why am I assigned Oracle at random interaction? It sounds like they're all correct to ask you though. The older generation's fixation on forcing you to have kids is something they absolutely refuse to unlearn. You can give the calmest and most reasonable explanation for not having kids, and the only thing they can think to say is, "But what of the heir to the lands? Who will inherit the throne? Please, sire, upon your barren death, there will be a parochial schism that will soak our soils with brother blood." They literally hate to see you happy with just a cat. This feels like it's gonna be one of those posts where people skim it and miss the joke in the central part and respond to it seriously, like that one cottagecore post. There is a potent disregard for the plight of my feudal lands amongst the tags. Whenever someone is like, "X is so good," but you can't just recommend it casually because it has every trigger warning under the sun. That in itself is a recommendation. All the truly good crap needs a minimum of 5 disclaimers, or it can't possibly reach the level of visceral catharsis necessary to be classified as a masterpiece. The funnier variant of this is when you come across a call-out post for a piece of media that ends up reading like a recommendation. Which of my household appliances am I most closely related to? Genetically. Depends. Are we talking taxonomy or phylogeny? Taxonomy. Refrigerator. Upright. Taller than it is wide. Has feet. Freestanding or was altered from a freestanding structure. Can be filled with food and/or liquids. Giggity. Has fluids flowing through it to regulate temperature at the expense of energy. Makes a lot of noise when its internals are exposed to outside air for too long. Runs. I keep seeing that one post about wanting a sword, but not being sure what to do with it practically. When I was like 15, my brother asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I jokingly said, I want a sword, like a knight's sword, and he bought me one from some historical replica place, and I just hung it on my wall. And for years, what I always did was whenever I was going out somewhere fancy and I was in my dress and my heels and my hair all nicely done, I would take the sword around and just walk around the tile part of my house with it kind of loosely gripped in my hand, just all slow and casual, hear my heels click, carrying it because you would be amazed what looking really hot and carrying a sword will do for your confidence. Like, I'd feel ready for anything. And my mom would always come out because she'd be expecting it and just watch me with some mixture of amusement and bewilderment, but she never actually asked. 5 years later, I still do this in college. Before job interviews, formal affairs, dates, just get ready and then carry the sword around for a while. You'll feel so good, I promise. I want a sword now, a pretty one that could take a man's head off, please. Proud to say that I have never once in my life figured out the whodunit in any crime story I've read or watched. I just let the facts and clues wash over me, absorbing absolutely none of it. I'm the audience they think of when they throw in red herrings. In case you've ever wondered, who would fall for this obvious false lead? It's me. I am the idiot viewer/reader. Not once has an obviously framed clue revealed anything to me. My head is completely empty when I consume these stories. Pretty much, the only lines of thought that have ever led me to correctly identify the culprit are 1. This book is bad, so it'll be the most disappointing choice for the villain, and 2. This book is good, so it'll be the most interesting choice for the villain. If your preferred method of flirting involves being overly antagonistic or dismissive, it is possible that the Hex member will not want to date you. Should this happen, you will not be permanently locked out of dating them. See the starting over section below. But we recommend reevaluating your courting methods if you give them another try. Why did they put this in there? I've never in my life seen a developer use their patch notes to say, we're pretty sure our community has no game, or LRIZ as the kids say. So here's a pro tip. Don't be a butthead to the person you're trying to date. My brother kept playing with 2 SSDs, so I said, "Aw, you're making them kiss." And he answered, "Yeah, and there's a 500 gigabyte difference between them. Barely legal. I'm going to blow him up." Told him he was making numbers on Tumblr, 28 notes, and he said, "Stop using me for views. I don't want furries to start hitting on me in the street." I fear his views of this website might be skewed. I'm not saying that there aren't furries on this website, by the way. I'm saying nobody's getting laid thanks to Tumblr notes. At least not on your side of Tumblr. It's how I got my boyfriend. Patently untrue. Tumblr notes are how I got my girlfriend. This is like finding out all your friends were having secret group coitus meetings and you were the only one not invited. I'm watching Pingu right now, and wow, how did I forget that Pingu once tried to recreate the Tower of Babel? Would love to hear the Vatican's opinions on this. They are animals and thus free of sin. In fact, doctrinally, animals give glory to God merely by existing, so Pingu's fine. But by creating a tower tall enough to reach God's kingdom, would they achieve sin? At one famous trial in Autun, France, in 1522, some rats were charged with feloniously eating and wantonly destroying the province's barley crop, and so were ordered to appear in court. If rats can commit crimes, penguins can sin. That's French. Courts, though, France, is a perversion of every law, moral, or truth known to man or heaven. I mean, they also did acquit the rats. That was a pretty significant thing that happened. Like, I understand where you're coming from here, but they very much did acquit the rats. How can people say cats don't have feelings? Like, when my cat got deadly sick, she refused to eat a single thing, and it had been days. But when I started crying, she ate just a little bit, and upon seeing how happy it made me, kept doing it whenever she could. Now whenever I'm sad or crying, she finds wherever I am, with a mouthful of food, and eats the pieces one by one, every time, looking up at me, making sure I was watching her eat it all, because she knew it made me happy. And it does make me happy. I'm never breathing a foul word in the direction of a French person ever again. Breaking. France could freeze the financial assets of Elon Musk and jail him for foreign election interference. Look, all right, I know I've said some things about the French in the past, but if they do this, I will be singing La Marseillaise in the friggin' streets. Like the charge, reblog the cast. Do not blow this for us. Look, I make fun of y'all a lot, so if you do us this one solid, I'll make one less French joke per week. Hellraiser trivia. The film was originally supposed to be called The Hellbound Heart, after the novella upon which it was based. The studio decided the title sounded too much like a romance and asked Clive Barker to change it. Barker offered Sadomasochist from Beyond the Grave, which was rejected for the overtly coital content. He ultimately opened the floor to the production team to offer up their own suggestions, prompting a 60-year-old female crew member to offer up what a woman will do for a good frig. She, an empress whose name has been lost to the sands of time. TikTok has massive problems that, even if you don't agree with the complete ban, have to be addressed for all social media platforms, and the Chinese government is doing pretty awful things, and there is a lot of xenophobic fear-mongering and double standards in the conversation about TikTok, and people should exercise basic caution signing up to foreign or domestic social media, and most Chinese citizens, like US citizens, are just people living their life, and cultural exchange between them can be beneficial for both sides, and some people being on the same social media site isn't going to solve everything, and I want to study the linguistics happening there under a microscope are opinions that can coexist. Replaying Cyberpunk 2077, I am increasingly enjoying the concept of Johnny Silverhand. More RPGs should feature an intangible NPC who accompanies you on your adventures, is a highly opinionated butthead, and provides no assistance whatsoever. What's Johnny going to do today? Is he going to spice up an otherwise boring quest with a private eye monologue? Is he going to lie to me about his own life to make me lose a Johnny Silverhand trivia contest? Is he going to give me a poetic and beautiful speech about living on despite the odds? Is he going to launch into an unhinged political rant? Is he going to somehow, inexplicably, make this conversation about his Richard? I don't know. I don't think he does either. V is trying to deal with the horrors of cyberpunk, and also their own impending death, and also live the life of an unstoppable supermerc, and they're stuck in a Torment Nexus get-along sweater with a dead revolutionary rocker boy who sucks in every way imaginable, and it's great. Great British, Bake Off. A s'more is basically just an Italian meringue sandwiched between two ganache-covered digestives. Americans. Amazing. Every word of what you've just said is wrong. It's about rubbing all the dry ingredients with the butter. In case anyone is wondering, this is Paul Hollywood's idea of a s'more. You know what? Their absolute inability to grasp Mexican foods makes more sense every day. Me, I feel no special attachment to my American identity. Paul Hollywood, you see, it's essential to carefully apply the blowtorch around the edges of the s'more. Obviously, we didn't want to give him a mess. Me, I must throw him into the Boston Harbor. Nodding my head in support of Americans, despite having no clue what a s'more is. Boy toy starts liking men after receiving heart transplant from gay man. This is a twist on the evil transplant trope that I should have seen coming. Nice refreshing storyline. Actors didn't look like movie stars, which was a plus, but you made a huge mistake. Coming from someone who has had open heart surgery, the young man who received the organ shows no incision for the ribcage to be cut down the sternum, then spread open so the transplant could happen. Serious makeup is missing on this, and is the only thing I can think of that would stop a 5-star rating in my opinion. Everyone's a friggin' critic. I grew up in a small rural town where there was one dentist, which I went to from around age 5 whenever my parents had the right insurance/money/time to get me there. Anyway, when I'm like 20 or so, I started having minor issues with my wisdom teeth coming in, but not so severe that this place can't extract them. So I go in for that, and I'm sitting there in the chair, and the assistant comes in looking at some paperwork and says, "So you've been coming here for a while, right?" And I am like, "Oh yeah, since I was a little kid." And she replies, "Yeah, I thought so. There's one note on your file, and it's patient likes dinosaurs and bugs." I love this photo, because at first you think that she was going to get married, but instead her husband-to-be left her, or something like that. But actually, it's quite the opposite. I clicked on the source, and it brought me to an article explaining the story behind this photo, and she's not crying, she's hungover. Her and her husband went to a football game on their wedding day, and got extremely drunk and partied all night. They took the subway home because they couldn't drive. So no, it's not a sad, heartbreaking story, it's a crazy, joyful one, which in my opinion, makes the picture even more amazing. Can people please reblog the pic with this caption, and not the one where everyone is sad and are like, "Poor girl, God bless." Poor girl's hungover, God bless. People always try to play the "but you're a lesbian" card whenever I say odd crap about men, and I think that's because people are too cowardly to accept the truth. These are pure, objective observations. I don't have a leg in this race. When I say Gene Wilder has a kind of evil warlock's raw coital charisma in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you can't write me off as being too freaky, because I'm literally not. I'm making a statement of fact here, and you'll just have to cope with it. Okay, buddy. I'll never understand why Disney is so focused on live-action remakes when they literally own the rights to the Muppets. I would take a Muppet remake of a Disney animation classic over a live-action remake all day, every day. Muppet Beauty and the Beast, where the Beast is played by the only human actor and he turns into a Muppet at the end. The Beast should be a conventionally attractive actor, whom the Muppet townspeople continually call hideous, until true love releases him from this curse and he shows true beauty, blue felt and plastic eyes. I hate all those too edgy for me theories about kids shows, like Angelica dreaming up the Rugrats, or the Ed, Edd and Eddie children being ghosts, or literally anything that takes a lighthearted and fun kids show and has to turn it into some tragic take of non-consensual coitus, or murder, or misinformed mental illness. So you know what? From now on, I'm gonna do the exact opposite. Every cool grimdark show is now because of a bunch of children. To get us started, Game of Thrones, a middle school D&D campaign with the most angry, vindictive DM who has promised to kill everyone's player characters and their family by the end. The Walking Dead is actually a bunch of kids playing zombie apocalypse in their neighborhood, and every time someone dies, it's because their parents called them home for supper. Breaking Bad is actually just a fanfic the students in Mr. White's class write about him because no one has any idea what he does with his free time, and the running jokes about it got wildly out of hand. I feel like this is the only thing about Spider-Man that isn't being discussed enough. Marissa Tomei, age 53 years. This is why I laugh so much when people complain that they aged down Aunt May, cause like, they didn't actually really. She is a reasonable age. Marissa Tomei just happens to actually be a vampire. She's not even a vampire. She's in shape, sure, but she's not ripped. She has age lines you can see in close-ups. Overall, she looks perfectly reasonable for a woman in her 50s with professional makeup. We're just so used to women not existing in movies unless they're 20 or 70 that we can't even recognize 50. Actually, yes, this I very much agree with. Day one of me asking how Doofenshmirtz finds out about Perry's name when Perry doesn't speak. He was sent an email by Alka when Perry was first assigned. Found important lore on TikTok of all places. Alka really said, "Yo Hines, we're sending a platypus to kick your butt. His name is Perry. Hugs and kisses." I always assumed that it happened like this. Perry crashes through window. Doofenshmirtz,
A platypus?
Perry puts on hat. Doofenshmirtz,
A platypus wearing a fedora?
Perry hands Doofenshmirtz a business card. Doofenshmirtz puts on his reading glasses. Doofenshmirtz,
Perry the platypus?
Vine's entire concept was show don't tell, while TikTok's entire concept is tell don't show. Might risk sounding like an old fart, but I want to elaborate what I mean. Sometimes I'll see TikToks that are just people talking to a camera about a thing that happened to them, and then at the end, won't even show the thing they're talking about. They're just talking to a camera. That or the few staged jokes take way too much time to get to the punchline, and the punchline isn't even funny, and the acting is bad. Meanwhile, on Vine, you only had 7 seconds, and in 7 seconds, you could have anything happen. And a dude said, "Back at it at Krispy Kreme," and did backflips and kicked out a sign in his final flip, and the video just cut with no explanation, and it was the greatest Vine on earth. The biggest scam of all time was convincing kids that Wikipedia, a free source of unlimited information, isn't reliable, when there's literal sources at the bottom and a strict editing policy. Seriously though, as someone who put literal years of effort into creating a Wikipedia hoax, it's basically impossible to get away with for more than like an hour. They're friggin' vigilant. I tried to build up trust by doing legit editing, but my account got reviewed because I approved a page that mismeasured the size of a ship by a few centimeters. Conversation in a group home kitchen. The new girl, "Hey, what are you cooking?" Me, "Chicken bacon." New girl, "Huh, weird. Is that actually good? Does it taste like real bacon?" Me, "It's good. I wouldn't know. I don't eat pork." New girl, "Oh, are you Muslim?" Me, "I'm Jewish." New girl, "Oh, but why is pork unclean anyway? Pigs are really neat and tidy animals, actually." Me, "That's not what it means. I was told they used to feed corpses to pigs during the wars, and then fed the pigs to soldiers. I just don't eat animals that would eat a human corpse." My roommate, walking in, "I only eat animals that would eat a human corpse." New girl, "Ew, why?" Me, "Because he's disgusting." Roommate, "It just feels fair. Like I can look at my dinner and think, yeah, you'd have eaten me too if you had the chance. We're equals in this." Me, "I've seen you eat chicken." Roommate, "A chicken will eat anything that moves that's smaller than a chicken. They'll eat mice, other chickens. If there was a chicken that was big enough to eat you, it totally would." The conversation went on, and now I have to find a rabbi to ask him whether a man eating giant chicken would be kosher, if one existed and you managed to slaughter it properly. I enjoy a joke about frigged up German fairy tales as much as the next nerd, but it's genuinely striking how often the source for the really frigged up stuff turns out to be, yeah, this is only in the Brothers Grimm version and doesn't appear in any extant oral tradition, and we're like 80% sure they added it themselves. To a large extent, it's not German fairy tales that are frigged up, it's two specific German dudes. In retrospect, we probably should have given the fairy tale writing to the Brothers Happy instead. This will be the year I finally convince everyone to abandon New Year's resolutions in favor of Yule boasting, the clearly superior tradition. Allow me to explain. Yule boasting is an Old Norse tradition of getting crap-faced at the winter solstice feast and standing up to proclaim all the great, infamous, and wildly improbable deeds you will perform in the coming year. Can range from an unlikely but technically possible claim, like, I'm going to rob 300 banks, to something you'd have to bend the laws of the universe to actually accomplish, like, I'm going to punch a god in the Richard and steal his horse. These are not plans, they're not even goals. They're the things you do in a self-insert superhero fanfic. And honestly, all I want this holiday season is for a bunch of friends to go all in on this nonsense with me and hype ourselves up in ways previously unimaginable. A weird thing is that we got waves of people going, who cares if it's cringe or you're annoying, have fun! But no one really learned how to accept the fact that some people will find you annoying, or think your art, or your work, or posts, or anything sucks. And that's okay. Rather, it just became a weird, if people think you're annoying, they're just morally bad. Let people enjoy things. Like, no. I think this yes man only biome sucks, and people are allowed to not like art styles in shows, in media, and other things. If you're an artist, a creator, or just someone who's involved in hobbies, learning that no matter what you do, some people will find you annoying is extremely important for your mental health. Just as learning that not liking things is normal and you're allowed to do it. I think a lot of what pro-AI people are really wanting is stuff that already exists, but they don't know it's out there, like can't format a work email? Templates. Don't know how to write a resume? Templates. Writing a thank you card or a condolences card or a wedding invitation? Templates, templates, templates. Not sure how to format your citations in MLA or whatever format? Citationmachine.net. Summary of something you're reading for school/work? cliffnotes.com. Recipe based on ingredients in your fridge? what'sintherefrigerator.com. There's a million more. Like, guys, we don't need AI. We never needed generative AI. Add Eclipse VO, and now you've started frigging anticipating me. I've seen this on your YouTube before Tumblr. How dare you? By the way, I haven't done this one before, so W Schizopost? The thing about cottagecore is that it's a romanticized aesthetic of country life, divorced from labor and idealized by a primarily urban audience, with a backward-looking ethos of tradition. They are not prepared for the stresses of a rural life. Farming, harvesting, tapping pumpkins to ensure none of them have been replaced with flesh, losing out on income by having to use one of your pigs in a blood sacrifice to paint protective sigils over your doors and windows, checking cracks and chimneys for the flesh vines of the pumpkin lord, having to decide before the growth is complete whether that's really your trad wife or an amassment of vines, leaves, and blood in the shape of your trad wife, ignoring their desperate pleas that I'm me, no, no, as you burn them alive, realizing too late you picked wrong. Hate when that happens. Hashtag relatable. And the exploitative corporate nature of commercial farming in 2024, all seen through a deeply colonial lens, of course. Okay, I'm locking these in early. I know what's gonna happen. I'm calling it now. 2025 predictions. Another supernatural spinoff is attempted. It fails. The Zodiac Killer is a woman theory becomes popular. Trump gets caught freaking a male megachurch pastor. Elmo learns how to swim, and Soggy Elmo becomes a meme. Trump fakes his death. Biden dies. Taylor Swift accidentally comes out as bi and has to walk it back Misha Collins style. A new species of gecko is discovered. Keir Starmer trips and falls. It's funny. Dan and Phil are caught kissing, and everyone pretends nothing happened. Elon Musk gets arrested over a new Twitter feature, gets out on bail, goes to space, dies. Someone uses ChatGPT to steal billions. We find tiny little bugs on another planet. Kick the pie transitions. Right-wing Christian influencers start adding mercury to their food to prevent aging. New TikTok trend where you throw rocks at people. I have a good day, heart. Recycled Tumblr humor. 10K notes. Pun. Pun repeated in italics. Did you just added Supernatural gif that fits, even though the post was nowhere near related to Supernatural.
Actually, it's pronounced GIF.
Wrong. I don't care. Fight me in the comments. I will die on this hill. Oh, you. Comment expressing disbelief on how Supernatural has a GIF for everything. Comment expressing their uttermost love for Tumblr. Comment expressing utter hate for posts like these. Comment that, oh my god, it's the original. I've only seen it in screenshots. We've been around this block so many times. What was old is apparently new again. Someone saying this post is a must reblog. Someone mentioning the OPs are all deactivated. The Hellside Hall of Fame reblog. Reading this post in 2024 feels like an immortal returning to their old village after 300 years and finding it's been converted to a heritage site full of period actors. 1 star. 俺はチュンチュンが大好きなんだよ。すみません、日本語がわかりません. Translation: the edge, where the glass screen and the metal meet, can cut your hand. You friggin' tell me this is normal. I unmuted and my cats went insane. Cutting edge technology. My man living in 3023, listening to JPEGs. Brother, that's an image. Ignore the haters. I believe in you. Keep listening to those images. I don't like YouTube video essays. They're too mansplainy. Has the word mansplain been lost in translation, or has the term video essay been lost in translation? Because I have no idea what sentiment you're truly to express. Imagine making a typo, by the way. You feel this passion project YouTube analysis of an indie video game is misogynistically condescending. You clicked on a video of a man explaining something and it's mansplainy. Like, I'm not saying a person must listen to and enjoy video essays, but that confounded me truly. You clicked on an 8-hour video of a man analyzing a sitcom from the 90s, and it's too mansplainy. Executive dysfunction tips. It gets easier to do a task if you dress appropriately first. It's much easier to get started once you're wearing the right clothes for the headspace. For example, if you need to clean your room, try putting on a maid dress. If you need to make dinner, try putting on a maid dress. If you need to accept visitors, try putting on a maid dress. If you need to poison the tea that will be served to your mistress's esteemed guests in an effort to ensure her suitors never take your mistress's hand from you, try putting on a... Little kids are so friggin' funny, man. Had a kid that couldn't be any older than like 8 or so come up to me today asking where our dinosaur books were, and when I tried to gently redirect them downstairs where our kids section is, they very matter-of-fairly informed me that they'd already read every book down there and are ready to learn about the secret grown-up only dinosaurs now, like the dinosaur with 500 teeth. If you know, you know. They may have been younger. I'm very bad with kid ages. Hope they found the gate-kept dinosaurs they were looking for. Vampire Hunter? No, I said Vampire Haunter. This jerk sucked all my blood out. So now I spend my afterlife knocking over shelves and scaring off potential victims and just making the castle generally pretty cold. It's always, "Bleh, why are the plates floating? Gah, who knocked over my blood goblet?" And never, "Sorry for killing you." Okay, starve then. And what are you gonna do about it? Have a priest exorcise the place? Yeah, good luck with all the crosses and holy water, you piece of crap. It's a lovely morning in the Gothic castle, and you are a horrible ghost. You ever be watching The Godfather and you're like, wow, that kitty is so happy and such a good actor. I wonder if it was someone's cat on set or what? The cat, held by Marlon Brando in the opening scene, was a stray that Coppola found while on the lot at Paramount Pictures and was not originally called for in the script. So content was the cat that its purring muffled some of Brando's dialogue, and as a result, most of his lines had to be looped. Sobbing, crapping, puking. Okay, buddy. You've got to admit that the oft-repeated command to touch grass in itself illustrates a great disconnect from the true wholesomeness of the offline world. Unless you meant a kind of wild grass, a lovely tassel cord rush, or even the humble rattlesnake grass. But we know that's not what they mean. To the chronically online, grass equals lawn, and nothing more. And a lawn is an abomination on par with the worst brainworms big online has to offer. Touching a lawn will not help you. You've got to go injure yourself on some swordgrass for God's sake. Counterpoint, If you are so terminally online that touching manicured suburban monoculture lawn is an improvement on your connection to nature and reality, then the implications of the statement are magnified. The Bulwer Lytton Awards for Worst Opening Paragraph went out, and man, I totally disagree. This opener is hilarious. Sir Arthur Pendragon, High King of the Britons, son of King Uther Pendragon, nephew of King Aurelius Ambrosius, who was in turn the son of a long list of people who weren't kings and thus don't matter, only slept with his sister once, rookie numbers, but boy, did it come back to bite him in the butt. What the frig? This is masterful. 10 out of 10. I would absolutely keep reading. But even past that, this is objectively solid. It effectively establishes setting and character and tone. You know you're getting an irreverent Pratchett-style take on the Arthurian legends. And also, it's funny, so legitimately, 10 out of 10. I know vampirism is often used as a metaphor for the drain of the aristocracy, but I think it would be fun to have more vampire characters who were just some guy before they got turned. You seek out the most ancient vampire in existence and find out he was a 40-year-old wheat farmer in ancient Mesopotamia when he was turned 7,000 years ago, and he hasn't been doing much since then. You look for the oldest vampire, and it was some dude selling low-quality copper bars thousands of years ago. Someone's gotta tend to those fields. Valid point, Tumblr user Goon King. No crime. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's a line forming around 5:45, consisting of a guy clearly wearing nothing but a trench coat, guy in a ski mask with empty bag of money, guy with very twirly mustache and a rope eyeing the train tracks, guy with artist smock and comedically large artist palette with paint spray cans bounced on it, like 6 guys with their tax forms wearing those little tax visors, and lastly, one guy really eager to break the Migratory Bird Protection Act. The Purge should have been a comedy. To be honest, if you don't think Bilbo Baggins is a little scamp, you haven't read the stunt he pulled when he left his belongings to his relatives after he left the Shire. For Dora Baggins, in memory of a long correspondence with love from Bilbo on a large wastepaper basket, Dora was Drogo's sister and the eldest surviving female relative of Bilbo and Frodo. She was 99 and had written reams of good advice for more than half a century. Dora, your advice is trash. With love, Bilbo. For the collection of Hugo Bracegirdle from a contributor on an empty bookcase. Hugo was a great borrower of books and worse than usual at returning them. I mean, seriously, the little scamp. For Angelica's use from Uncle Bilbo on a round convex mirror. She was a young Baggins and too obviously considered her face shapely. I cry. For Milo Burrows, hoping it will be useful, from BB on a gold pen and ink bottle. Milo never answered letters. BB, B friggin' B. For Lobelia Sackville Baggins as a present on a case of silver spoons. Bilbo believed that she had acquired a good many of his spoons while he was away on his former journey. Lobelia knew that quite well. When she arrived later in the day, she took the point at once, but she also took the spoons. Throws all the shade, Baggins style. This is so friggin' funny. Detective. You're a sick son of a gun, you know it? That bird was your friend of 10, 12 years, and you drop a big friggin' boulder on him. Wile E. Coyote. I swear to God, man, I didn't think it was gonna work. It never works. Oh, God. Detective. Nevada's a death penalty state. My favorites from the tags. I feel like the detective would have been Bugs Bunny. This is Megamind. This is literally the plot of Megamind. Coyote ends up with meep meep tattooed on his knuckles in prison, which he holds up when he gets the Acme brand electric chair. The chair does not work. The average Tumblr post. 2 + 2 = 5, Lamau. 50% of all replies. That's funny because it's not true, lol. Good post. The other 50% of all replies. This discourse is obscene. You seriously believe that? This is why you perverted T-Slayer moids need to be executed. The fact that so many of you freaks get trusted to write software is so dangerous. Not to mention how disrespectful this is to that guy from 1984. The guy from 1984 if you had a Tumblr. I hope you like this new art of my OC. She's a rat girl dommy mommy. Note how she uses her tail to squeeze his family jewels. Haha, she honestly scares me. I bet she wouldn't even listen if I safe worded. What the frig? Do you ever say something and then think, wow, this isn't even a bit. I'm just like this.
Do you ever say something and then think, wow, this isn't even a bit. I'm just like this, ooh.
This post has been ooh-ified. I feel dirty after reading that.
Do you need a squubby wubby, ooh?
I think I do need a squubby wubby, to be honest, but not from you. When is it my turn to be happy? Being a humanities major who's friends with STEM majors is so funny, because you'll ask your friends what they're doing today, and they're like, ugh, it's so stressful. I have to stabilize the reactor core for my nuclear power midterm, and then I have to build the supercomputer from I have no mouth, yet I must scream for my electrical engineering homework, // what about you? And you're like, oh, well, I have to read a fun little book and write an essay about gender, and they still think you have it worse. Being a STEM major who's friends with humanities majors is also funny, because you ask what's going on with them, and they're like, oh yeah, my day's pretty good. I only have to read 50 pages for this one class today, and half a book for another one. It's much better than last week, where I read 3 books and wrote a 10-page paper about their overlapping motifs for one class, while also researching a niche period of time that our library doesn't have any resources on. How's it been for you? And you're like, oh, I have a little packet of fun math puzzles due tomorrow. And they look at you like you're carrying the weight of the universe on your back. Today, Goofus the Pea Richard killed a mouse, and instead of eating it right away, decided to wander around the pasture carrying it in his beak. The feral cats always appreciate dead rodent-based performance art, so they followed behind Goofus single file to make a very exciting dead rodent parade. At one point, Goofus stopped and put down his rodent, and one of the feral cats dared to sniff at it, and Goofus unleashed the most terrifying honk. Something along the lines of,
I will end you and everyone you love, and your bones will be forgotten on the frozen earth when I snuff out the sun and sing the stars to darkness. I am the devourer and destroyer of all things.
The feral cats, previously unaware that the death of the universe and end of all things is currently living as a Pea Richard, ran off at about 50 miles an hour and hid under the barn for the rest of the day. They didn't even come out at milking time to beg for goat milk, which is a first. We probably should not have named the death of the universe and the end of all things Goofus, actually. My former house owners planted mint, English ivy, blackberries, and Concord grapes. They're all competing with the Japanese knotweed and oriental bittersweet in the nature lot surrounding our home. The knotweed is currently winning, but we have a multi-year plan to hopefully control it all. This Redditor has the friggin' battle royale of invasive plants in the US happening in their yard. Jesus Christ. Sentences of hate and destruction. Hydrogen bomb versus hydrogen bomb versus hydrogen bomb versus hydrogen bomb versus... I heard they're adding kudzu and holly in the next battle pass. Knotweed sounds like an aphrodisiac for werewolves. Okay, man. Cats being capable of understanding accidents and even giving you a little head bonk to let you know you're still cool makes it infinitely funnier that they don't understand when you're trying to help them. Cats when you step on their tail. I'll admit that it was rather ouchy, but given the lifetime of goodwill and trust between us, one must conclude this boo-boo is but a fluke. Cats when you try to get their claws unstuck from the couch covering. This nefarious hag has never had a single honorable intention in their dishonest and shameful life. This must be one of their sinister plots, or perhaps even an attempt on my life. I said it was my favorite piece of media that I've hyperfixated on since the tender age of 12 and have not let go of since. I didn't say it was a good piece of media. What do you like about it so much? The fact that it cocooned me like a tender wool blanket during my vulnerable teenage years. Next question. This applies to so much media in my palette, by the way. So much of it is just comfort media. Except for books. I usually try to keep my rotation of books fresh, but I've been trying to make a concerted effort to strike out too. An ornithologist pointed a microphone at a bird sitting alone on a wire and caught the sound of the bird singing a song at a decibel so low that it would be impossible for another bird to hear it, meaning the bird was singing quietly to itself. I love life! During the northern winter, blackbirds can be heard quietly singing to themselves. Yeah! Birds do sing whisper songs like this when attracting a mate, so we could have been practicing. Birds sing when they're stressed sometimes, i.e., I've had multiple birds sing during the banding process, so it could be a self-soothing thing. Some people have, anecdotally, suggested that singing could be a form of play for songbirds. The least realistic thing about The Lord of the Rings is that a team got together for a group project, decided everything in one meeting, and their plan worked. The group abandoned the original plan halfway up Carathras, split up several times, some group members started looking into different projects, found new partners and ended up doing something else, the original plan was abandoned early on, and the project was salvaged at the last moment by the one group member that didn't get sidetracked. Sounds like a pretty astute description of teamwork to me. One of them also died, just like in high school. 2 died. 1 got better. Kids party going on next door to where I'm chilling for my break. A lot of good-natured screaming, typical of the age range. Seems to be 6 to 8. Minding my own business, but kids eventually spill over to where I am. And they're chatting about the cake and cookies and sweets. One kid rolls her eyes and says to me,
They're acting crazy because they had cake.
I ask, is there cake left?
Yeah.
I'll give you $1 if you steal me a slice of cake. takes off like a friggin' rocket, and 60 seconds later, I have a slice of melting ice cream cake all to myself. Give her the $1 as promised. Another kid offers to bring me a cookie for $1. Okay, sure kid. Those two kids are going feral over a single dollar bill each. The children yearn for fetch quests. Don Ramon type behavior. How do you friggin' dare to hide this in the comments? When people are like, the Hunger Games just stole the plot of Battle Royale, like listen, everything steals from the plot of everything. The Lion King is just furry Hamlet, Westworld is Jurassic Park but freakier, Lost is edgy Gilligan's Island, there are no original stories, and the only good piece of media is Jennifer's body. Michael Crichton wrote Westworld and Jurassic Park though, so he just pirated himself. Michael Crichton keeps trying to tell y'all about the evils of capitalism impeding on the progress of science. When will y'all listen? Maybe he just doesn't like theme parks. Michael Crichton in line for a roller coaster at Six Flags. Frig this. Michael Crichton, height, 6'9". Jesus Christ. That's the height at which every roller coaster and dark ride is a decapitation threat. How am I ever supposed to leave Tumblr when it takes me on journeys like this? Sometimes, bad things happen to you, but the manner in which they're inflicted is so indistinguishable from the sorts of cruel and unusual misfortunes that befall a character in a sitcom created for the sole purpose of suffering for other people's entertainment that it's impossible to even begin to get upset about it. I was already having what can only be described as a pretty friggin' bad day. My coworkers noticed and were kind enough to offer me the last of the freshly baked limited edition cookies we've recently started selling that I cannot get enough of. And just as I'd finished thanking them sincerely for such a thoughtful and touching gesture of goodwill, a customer walked in, pointed at the single cookie in the display case, ordered it and absolutely nothing else, and left. God, I've seen what you've done for others, and you are doing some straight up Looney Tunes crap to me. Earlier, I was scrolling Reddit, and I came across a post in r/shrooms, a subreddit dedicated to funkadelic mushrooms, and frequently featuring entries from users who are posting during a trip. A guy posts freaking out that the delivery person who dropped off his food had a huge snake wrapped around his neck, and the snake was talking to him and tripped him out. He shares a picture he sneakily took of the delivery driver. The delivery driver actually does, in fact, have a live 7 or so foot long boa constrictor draped across his shoulders. Can you friggin' imagine being blasted out of your gourd on groovalicious substances, getting a random knock at the door, and the guy has a live, gigantic snake just chilling? Your head would explode. I swear. How do I know 0 celebrities? You guys always talk about famous people, and I have no idea who the hell you're talking about. But then it turns out they're the most well-known and liked person on Earth right now, because all you do is watch Phineas and Ferb. They sent Candace to the moon the other day. I had a really frigged up dream. Oh my great googly moogly. Phineas and Ferb related? Sorry, but Phineas and Ferb were not in it. Buford? No characters from Phineas and Ferb were there. 2 of my favorite Phineas and Ferb posts. I'm not Christian, but I do believe in the power of prayer. For this reason, I keep a little homunculus and a dog crate under my bed, which I have raised as a devout Catholic. Whenever I want something in my life to change, I poke him with a stick, and he clasps his grubby little paws together and starts chanting in Latin. His prayers always go through, because he has never known sin. Everyone in the notes keeps telling me this is a sin, and I would just like to know, where exactly in the Bible it says that I can't grow a little man in a jar and make him pray for the violent and untimely deaths of various United States senators. What verse is that? Honestly, if teleporters ever got invented during my lifetime, I would be the most annoying analog boomer about it. My grandkids would be like, ugh, grandma, why don't you just take a teleporter trip to come visit us? We all do it all the time, and it's obviously safe. And I would be like, absolutely not. It kills you and reconstitutes a copy with your exact memories. You are consciously my grandchildren, and I do not hold it against you. But I know in my heart that you are nothing but copies of copies of copies, born out of irresponsible technology use. I am not touching that devil's elevator as long as I live. I will take an airplane, and you will wait for the several hours it takes for me to come visit you. I'm so sick of people saying water doesn't taste. Water friggin' tastes! Well, what does it taste like then? You know, the place where I last worked wanted to use our reading room as a backdrop for a filmed interview. We had a very pretty reading room. On the day the film crew was there, the audio guy came over to my desk, which was at the edge of the space, and said, look, you can keep working because you're not doing anything too loud, but in a minute, I'm gonna go over there and call for silence for 10 to 20 seconds, and during that time, I need you to not make any noise. And I went, well, sure. But he clearly felt a little uncomfortable telling me to not move at my own desk, so he explained. The purpose of those 20 seconds is to record the silence in the room. It's so they have a patch they can edit silence over some extraneous background noise later. The phone ringing, me getting an email, the toilet flushing in the bathroom next door, the elevator coming and going, noisy student group, etc. But the point was that they can't just slap any old silence over a recording done in a certain room. They have to use the silence from that room, or it will be jarring on a subliminal level to the people listening, because silence has a sound, and it's a little different everywhere you hear it. That's what water tastes like. Old news, but I'm still salty about it. It really shows how shabbily voice actors are treated that they got friggin' Chris Pratt to voice Mario in the Illumination Mario movie instead of Charles Martinet, who I would argue is basically to Mario as Mel Blanc is to Bugs Bunny. And it's not like he doesn't have range, because you want to know another one of his major voice acting roles? Parthenax from Skyrim. Yes, the guy who said the line,
"What is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?"
is also the voice of the funny Wahoo Man. We really don't appreciate voice actors enough. One time, this man approached me in a bar talking in Spanish, so I assumed he was Spanish and we started speaking. We had a whole hog conversation, and at some point he was like, "So what part of Spain are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm Italian, actually. What part of Spain are you from?" And he was like, "I'm Greek." One time I was in Argentina, and I was so tired of trying to speak Spanish because I'm not very good at it, Lamau, so I broke into exasperated English, and the retail seller girl quickly understood me and engaged me in conversation. We talked for a while, she introduced me to a makeup brand, and then I decided to buy it. While she was packaging the purchase, she asked me if I were from the US or perhaps the UK, and I just said, "Oh no, I'm Brazilian, ha ha ha," and she looked me straight in the eyes and said in clear Portuguese, "I'm Brazilian too." The only high school hetero romance I want to see is Jock Girl x Nerd Boy. Sorry, the other ones have been too overdone. Give me a super confident basketball player girl and a guy who's a little terrified of her. Nerd Boy is scrambling for books at his locker. Basketball girl leans on the locker next to his like jocks do in high school movies. Let me guess, no other guy wants to go out with her because she's too tall and intimidating. Actually, no. All the basketball dudes think she's super cool, but she wants the calculus loser. If y'all like the unidentifiable yellow glitter goo, you'll love the time I made wine out of marshmallow peeps. How? Well, you see, the ingredients for wine are yeast, sugar, thyme. And it turns out the yeast aren't really that picky about what kind of sugar you give them as long as there's enough of it. Peeps wine, mood board. It ended up tasting kind of like a very mild sweet white wine, with a faint but unmistakable aftertaste of marshmallow. That was entirely the wrong question. The correct question, a very, very important question, seriously, is why? The 100% true and honest answer is someone said the phrase fermented peeps around me at exactly the right time, and I went, oh, that's a sin I simply must commit. To the people actuallying me in the notes about calling this wine, clearly I have no respect for nature, God, or man. Why would you assume I respect arbitrary alcoholic beverage classifications? As a French person, I am outraged that you called it wine. But still, that's cool. You take another alcohol name though. You could literally choose how to call it. Create a new name for it. So why call it wine? To upset the French. Hello, base department? High school teachers, if you don't show up with a dress in full makeup or a fitted tuxedo to class every day to college, your professors will execute you. College professors. I once had a professor slam a thermos down on his desk and say to us, "There's more pressure in my sinuses right now than there is in the bottom of the sea. This thing's full of NyQuil. I'm going to drink it while I teach, and when your heads are replaced by swirling rainbows, I will cancel the rest of class." The class ended up being 17 minutes long. Your professor was trying to fight God. Everyone may think they hate country music, but when Jolene, Before He Cheats, Take Me Home Country Roads, or Life is a Highway comes on, everyone is suddenly a liar. I know this is a funny post, but there are a few major points in country music's history that got the entire genre labeled as annoying. Post 9/11 nationalism, a term that I couldn't make up, bro country, which intensifies themes of booze, objectifying women, and partying that were present in past decades, but not to such an extent. This is gospel music, but with an accent. Now, looking at the songs OP listed, there is a woman pleading to another woman, a woman wrecking a craphead's life, a guy loving the scenery of where he lived, a song that could easily be mistaken for a number of other genres. But it is easier to say that one hates country while privately enjoying select songs than explain why one doesn't like the current market oversaturated with our nation's problems of nationalism, sexism, and so on. One time, when I was a barista, I was telling my coworker that I suddenly really missed cows. I used to work with cows all the time back home, and then I moved away, and suddenly, it had been 4 years and nary a cow. 15 minutes later, this old guy came up to the counter with his address written on a napkin, and he said, "Me and my wife have a whole herd of Dexters, and a couple new calves. Come on over anytime." So after work, I was like, okay, frig it. And I drove to the address, and I parked at the gate, and I walked down the driveway to the barn. And this woman was like, oh, my husband told me you might stop by. Come see your cows. And she introduced me to every single cow. Made my whole week. Thank you, cow couple. I would cry. Spider-Man. Opinions on Rhode Island. Your mom rode my island last night. 2 out of 10.
Hello, Spider-Man. For too long, your adversaries have wasted their efforts on the wrong tactics. If physical attacks were to succeed, they would have by now. Instead, I've chose to hit you where it hurts, your quips. Your healing factor lets you shake off a blow to your body, but can you endure a blow to your ego?
This might be my toughest foe yet. I don't think it's necessarily plastic to learn how to fake laugh at bad or corny jokes. I think it's legitimately a skill worth developing to make life a little nicer at work. Like last night, my older coworkers were all doing the, all right, see you guys next year joke. What a knee slapper. And I don't want the last thing they saw that year to be someone rolling their eyes. Yeah, sometimes it's just the right thing to do, to exchange an attempt at simple connection with a positive response. It's less about the joke itself and more performing simple niceties and being able to just get along with people you work with. Even if it's not sincerely funny or gonna make you best friends, it's just good etiquette, really. Christian missionary work is a millennia-long social experiment to find out what the dumbest thing someone could possibly do is. Reading about foreigners detained in North Korea, and a solid 40% of them were just missionaries. It's my God-given right and duty to force my religion into these people, whether they want it or not, is an attitude which has led to many millions of atrocities over the millennia. But it's also led people to do things like travel to They Kill You Here Island. You'll never guess what happened. Obviously, they live happily ever after. Things I wish I knew earlier in fandom, but maybe these will help somebody now. Most of your fandom experience is shaped by who you follow. Find a good group of people and stick with them. Support your faves and a lot of them will become your friends, or at least be friendly back to you. Just unfollow people who bring unwanted content or negativity onto your dash. Block people who cause you stress. It's not worth your time to focus on parts of fandom that don't make you happy. Blacklisting words/tags is a tool you are allowed to use as much as you need to. Don't feel like you have to pretend to like things that make you uncomfortable in order to fit in. Set healthy boundaries for yourself. Never tag your hate. Never send hate anons to someone. Content creators love getting comments, seeing people gush in the tags on reblogs, and getting fans in their inbox. It's the best way to motivate them to keep making awesome stuff. If there's a certain content you want to see but it doesn't exist yet, then make it. Draw the thing, write that fic. If you can't, then commission an artist or writer or send someone a prompt if they're open to it. If you can't do that either, then write meta or hitcans about it. Put it into the world. Create what you love. Do it for yourself first and foremost. And if even one other person likes it too, then that's a bonus. People will say, why can't the Eldritch gods just be nice to humans, sad face with the double chin, and then kill a bug for existing near them? Eldritch gods see me in the corner, and then they scream in terror, and go grab their husband or whatever to come squish me. My dearly beloved mutual, you can't just leave this in the tags. While exploring a vast and inscrutable city, which seems to predate life on Earth, I am gently picked up by something incomprehensible with the higher dimensional equivalent of a cup and piece of paper, then lovingly set outside in my natural habitat. Unfortunately, the being exists outside of time and can't really tell human cities apart from one another, so I appear without warning in ancient Sumer.
I try to throw her a party every year.
Doofenshmirtz is such a good dad. I mean, he never had an actual birthday party or even actual childhood, but when Vanessa was born, he tried his best to be the father he never had. He didn't have any idea how to be a good father, but he still wanted the best for his daughter. He supported her, helped her, and organized a real birthday party for her when his own parents always ignored his. I respect him so much. He isn't a villain. He is the best person in the entire series. Change my mind. Lying at a job interview voice. Yeah, I can sing all of the lyrics of American Pie by Don McLean without slipping into the Weird Al version. Easy. Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. And did you see him hitting on the queen, though he's just frig? Don McLean's take wasn't quite as glowing. Make no mistake, the Troubadour was generally pleased with what Yankovic had done to his classic. The problem was that Yankovic might have done too good of a job. Specifically, per the Chicago Tribune, McLean said that his children played Yankovic's Running with Scissors album, which included The Saga Begins as a track, around the house. This led to other problems, like when McLean tried to perform the actual American Pie and found the lyrics to The Saga Begins kept creeping into his head. Apparently, me and Don McLean share this issue. The real reason your sapient dragon character needs a rider, not the kind you're thinking. 1. Dragons on the wing are vulnerable to being mobbed by smaller, more agile flyers, particularly in your large rear blind spot, like a bird of prey being mobbed by crows. Having a human armed with a long spear perched on your back helps dissuade anyone from getting any funny ideas. 2. Breath weapons are impressive enough on the ground, but in flight they're really only good for strafing stationary targets. Trying to use your breath weapon in an aerial dogfight is a good way to get fire up your nose. A real fight calls for sterner measures, and, concomitantly, a crew to aim and reload the cannons. 3. In today's competitive world, it's not enough to devour a flock of sheep and call it a day if you want to keep your edge. You're accompanied at all times by a qualified personal alchemist tasked with carefully regulating your internal furnace to ensure peak performance, and sometimes you even listen to them. 4. No dragon of any quality would be caught dead without their valet. It's not as though you can announce your numerous long-winded titles yourself when introductions are called for, can you? You suppose next you'll be expected to pick up the spoils of your conquest yourself, like a common brigand. Perish the thought. I'll have y'all know that my favorite figure skater's parents told her that to get a dog, she'd have to do well at the Olympics, and she went and won the frickin' Olympics when she was 15. Her, I want a dog. Her mom and dad, yeah, sweetie, do well at the Olympics and we'll see. Alina Zagitova, okay. Did she get that well-deserved dog she wanted? I don't know if her parents got her one, but the friggin' president of Japan gave one to her when he found out that she wanted one. This teen to her parents every single day. Bye, I'm off to walk my presidentially ordained victory dog. And before,
Actually, Japan doesn't have a president, they have a prime minister.
came out of my dad's printer at work today. Hi, if you're reading this message, it's highly likely that your printer is exposed to the public internet via port forwarding. This means that anyone on the internet with some technical knowledge can send print jobs to your printer. Print jobs. Or worse, try to exploit it and use it as part of a global botnet. If you didn't intend for this, please look into disabling UPnP, Universal Plug and Play, on your router, or remove the port forwarding rule for the port 9100, a friendly catgirl hacker, :3. Shout out to the literal fan fiction happening a few blocks from my apartment. There's been this halal meat market on the corner for like 19 years that the owner's son just inherited, and directly across the street, this woman opened a kosher grocery store, and since day one, they've had this very friendly fake rivalry, playing it up for the customers. It's always been super goofy and lighthearted. So turns out last night she proposed in the middle of the afternoon rush in the meat market, and he said yes! And she's moving her store to the adjacent empty storefront on the left so they can have a joint grocery store. It is so friggin' cute. I wish them the happiest marriage ever. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. This is a huge thing, especially with kids. To the parent, they lashed out when they were mad and forgot about it, expecting the kid to forget too. To the kid, it was a big moment that defined your relationship with your parents. Stuff my parents don't remember doing or saying were things that to me spoke very, very loudly that I was not safe to be open and honest with my parents. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers indeed. My parents used to call the cops on me when I didn't listen to them, Umao. Shout out to the guy in charge of the train station in my hometown, who doesn't limit himself to announcing trains, but also comments on interesting birds he sees on the platform, gives completely unofficial weather reports on what he thinks the day is going to be like, refers to very crowded trains as friendly trains, regularly congratulates everyone on having gotten up on time on Monday mornings, basically seems to use the tannoy system to amuse himself and try and brighten up everyone's morning commute, refers to himself as the Fat Controller. What magical land do you live where there's something other than a robot in charge of the train announcing?